So this video is going to teach how we can solve word problems using proportions, okay, or proportion applications. What's the strategy? The strategy to solving a word problem using proportions is to set up a proportion as follows. Notice it says unit 1 over unit 2 equals unit 1 over unit 2. What does this mean? This means that when you set up a proportion, you always want to make sure that the top matches the top of the other, and the bottom unit matches the bottom unit of the other. So for example, if you have feet on top and seconds on the bottom, you'd better make sure that feet are on top and seconds are on the bottom on the other side. Also, these two guys are related, and these two guys have to be related. Okay? You need to figure out which ones are related in the problem. Okay? Once you set it up, you can get rid of the units. They're only there to help you set the problem up correctly. Okay? Alright, let's look at the first example. It says a machine produces 247 bolts in 26 minutes. At the same rate, how many minutes would it take to produce 209 bolts? Okay, first notice that the 247 bolts in 26 minutes, these guys are related. That means I'm going to write 247 bolts over 26 minutes in the same fraction equals. Now the next part tells us 209 bolts, and it says how many minutes. Now this 209 bolts, we either put it on the top or on the bottom. And notice that since bolts was on the top on the left, we're going to put bolts on the top over here. Now the minutes we don't know, but that's exactly what we're looking for. So I'm going to write X minutes here. Now we're just going to solve the proportion. Okay? Solving the proportion, remember, means to multiply. So 247 times X is equal to 26 times 209. Let's go ahead and multiply 26 times 209 using a calculator. We actually end up with 247x equals 5,434. Now we divide both sides by 247. Let's again use our calculator here. 5,434 divided by 247 is going to equal 22. Okay, we need to make sure we put units though. So the answer to the question is 22 minutes, right? That's exactly what X stood for. X was the number of minutes. Therefore, it would take 22 minutes to produce 209 bolts. Okay, let's try another one. There is a sales tax of $9 on an item that cost $120 before tax. The sales tax on a second item is $19.05. How much does the second item cost before tax? Okay, this one's a little trickier because they're both dollars. So we need to just be a little more specific. We know that this $9 and the $120 are related, right? So I'm going to put $9 and $120 on the bottom. But these don't mean the same thing, right? $9 is the tax, right? It says the sales tax is $9. So I'm going to say $9 tax on $120 before tax. Just writing this in will help me make sure that I set this up correctly. Now, it says the tax on the second item is $19.05, so I'm going to put that on the top, since that's the tax. And it says how much does the second item cost, so I'm going to say X before tax. Alright, this is our proportion that we're looking for. So now we can ignore units, and let's go ahead and multiply. So 9 times x is 9x. equals 120 times 19.05. So let's do that on a calculator. 120 times 19.05 gives us 2286. So I get 9x equals 2286. If I divide both sides by 9, I get x equals, so let's do 2286 divided by 9. I get x equals 254. That means the cost before tax is $254. I'd better make sure I put my dollar sign there, right? Always write your units. We're going to do one more. Actually, before I do this last problem, I want to point out that if you write this backwards and you were accidentally to write the x on the top and the 1905 on the bottom and it didn't match the other side, you will get the wrong answer. Okay, so be really careful when you're setting these up. That's the part you should be most careful about. Okay, last problem. This one's going to be tougher. It says the ratio of men to women working for a company is 5 to 3. If there are 112 employees total, how many men work for the company? So they're telling us that there's 112 employees total. And it says how many men work for the company. But the other ratio is men to women. That does not match, right? So I'm going to go ahead and start by setting it up like this. It says how many men, so I'm going to write that first. X men. And employees for the company, there's 112 employees. So I'm going to write 112 employees. Now, I need to know how many men there are related. It says the ratio of men to women is 5 to 3, right? Men to women, 5 to 3. That means 5 is the men, 3 is the women. So I'm going to write 5 men. But I don't want to write 3 women on the bottom because then I'm not comparing the same thing. I need to figure out how many employees there are. But wait, it says 5 men to 3 women. That means 5 plus 3 equals 8. Right? There's 5 men and 3 women. There's 8 total. And so I'm going to write 8 employees. So women actually don't appear anywhere in this equation. Now we're ready to solve the problem. So 8 times x equals 5 times 112. Let's go ahead and use a calculator for that. 5 times 112 is 560. So I get 8x equals 560. Divide both sides by 8. I end up with x equals 70. Remember, that just tells us how many men there are. So let's actually write that down. We have 70 men at the company. Okay. Tricky problem. If you had just put 5 and 3, it wouldn't match, right? Because one would be 3 women, the other would be 112 employees. They would not match. So this is how we have to solve these types of problems. Okay, hopefully that was useful for you, and I wish you luck in doing these problems. Thanks for watching. So this video is